If you're in the market for a huge fat tire bike that can even go in the sand, this is the bike you might want to consider. For the dollar value that you get it for and for the power that's behind this thing, it's pretty amazing. This is the CYCROWN CycVerve. Thank you very much, CYCROWN, for sending this out to me for review. We're going to go over the specs, we're going to do some ride footage and even some unboxing details. Let's get started on the review.
Climbing hills, no sweat, no fight. Off-road trails in the day sunlight. 28 miles pushing through the haze. Powerful beast setting hearts ablaze. Ride the wild edge, hear it roar. Fast and fierce, begging for more. City streets or trails that wind. CycVerve is like one of a kind. Grip the handles, the world's a blur. Every turn makes my spirit stir. Adventure calls, no limits, no bounds. This machine's where freedom is found. Ride the wild edge, hear it roar. Fast and fierce, begging for more. City streets or trails that wind. CycVerve it like one of a kind.
Unboxing and assembling the CYCROWN CycVerve bike isn't actually too difficult, but if you're not comfortable doing stuff like this, I would highly recommend taking it to a professional bike shop and have them put together for you, just to make sure that everything is done properly and tightened down right. Other than that, for me, every time I get one of these bikes, I make sure that I put flat out tire sealing in all my bikes, just to make sure I don't get any flat tires. Once that is done, I had to put on the handlebars, adjusted everything to make sure they're in the right position. I do have a bike stand, which I then took it off the bike stand because this bike is pretty heavy. And once all of that was done, I tested the electricals, put on the headlight, and just made sure everything was the way I wanted to before I was ready to ride. That was pretty much it.
So we're walking up to the CYCROWN CycVerve All Terrain 750 watt fat tire e-bike, and this bike is absolutely crazy fun to go ahead and ride, and it is definitely all terrain. When you look at the size of these tires here, these are 26 by 4-inch fat tire e-bike tires that you can also deflate to pretty low pressure so they can even run in the sand. Now, of course, I'd be very cautious on making sure that you don't get too much sand into the gearing and all that other stuff, but it is IPX4 rated so that it does allow you to go ahead and ride in the rain, and you just don't want to submerge it, of course, but it can get wet, and it is just a blast. It has a 15.6 amp hour battery built right into the frame here. I'll go ahead and show a little bit about that later, where you can actually go, it says anywhere between 40 to 60 miles. I would say conservatively, you probably get about 45, 50 miles pretty decently. This bike is really powerful. It does have a cadence sensor that's built into it, and it does go up to 28 miles an hour. And the other thing that's really fun about this is that this throttle that's on here does allow you to go up to 28 miles an hour on throttle only. So it does kind of break the rules of the true class 3 rating. So you might want to consider this an off-road bike rather than a class 3. So as we take a closer look here in the backside and the transmission of this, we have a 7-speed Shimano Tourney derailleur on the back here, and it does a fantastic job just keeping up with the bike, even if you're going at higher speeds at 20 miles an hour. The Shimano Tourney derailleurs are not the high-end derailleurs, but they do a very, very good job. And then you also have your front chainring here. I'm not sure exactly the size of this. It just runs really smoothly, especially with the circumference of a 26-inch fat tire on the back here. You definitely have the gearing ratio that you need to go ahead and push this bike. Now, if your battery does die at 75 pounds, this bike is going to be heavy to go ahead and push without having some really low-end gearing that can take you up some hills with just your pedal power alone. It is possible, of course, but just keep in mind it is a heavy bike, it's big, and it's made to go in all terrain. These tires will roll over anything, so you know, it's a lot of fun. And you have a front suspension with your lockouts here, and of course your preload adjustments on this side here. It does come with a nice bright big headlight in the front as well, and then we have also hydraulic brakes to top this off. So you have a lot of great features that are built into this bike here that can really just allow you to have just a lot of fun. We have a really bright screen display as well in the front. It is even bright in the middle of the day here. You can still see the display here, and you know, you have your 5 levels of pedal assist, 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. and then 0, which actually puts no power to the bike, where you're running only on your leg power. But up to 5, you get almost up to 1,000, or in fact over 1,000 watts of peak power just coming out of here. In this bike, you have also a pretty comfortable seat. I gotta say that too. This actually did not hurt me for riding about 15 miles yesterday, just flying all over the place on the bike trails that are out here in my area, and it was just an absolute blast. We also have a built into, it's going to be inside here, the motor of the brain. It is a 25 amp controller and a 48 volt battery with a 15.6 amp hours storage in here, which can take you between about up to 60 miles max is what it says on optimal conditions. I'd say conservatively you'd be looking between 40 to 50 miles on most average riding, depending on how heavy you are. Of course, if there's flat ground or any other extra terrain here. It does come also with a 2 amp charger. Here's some details that you also can see about the bike here. If you want to freeze the frame there, you can take a look at that. This bike also does have bottle cage bosses here. I don't know if you want to put a bottle there, it would limit your step through ability with doing that. But then again, at least it has bottle cage, because my particular bike here did not come with a rack. Now it does have the rack mount. I did notice that some other reviewers that I had taken a look at on the website when I was looking into the details of the bike here, that some of them had a rack built in and some of them also had fenders. I don't have any fenders on it. I honestly don't need any. In my area it doesn't rain very much, except during the summer with a lot of sprinklers. If you're on some of the bike trails, you're going to have sprinklers splashed up that come up, but for me it doesn't really matter. I like the look of it. It also makes it from making any extra added noise. But just know you can add fenders, you can add a rack, because I did see, again, some people actually have it on some of the other reviews that I did see. This is a 75-pound bike, so if you're going to be putting this on a rack, or if you're going to be trying to lift this bike, just keep in mind it is a little heavy. You don't want to necessarily try to strain yourself too much, and just plan ahead for that. If you want to travel with this bike, I always recommend taking out the battery anyway, because that thing is really pretty heavy. It doesn't come with any really accessories, but a water bottle bag that you can add. We can get this on, you can get it on the ebikeproducts.com website at ebikeproducts.com/shop. And of course, you can check out this bike. I have direct links that'll go directly to the CYCROWN website at ebikeproducts.com/CycVerve. And you can just use that link that's in the description below of this video. The other thing is we do have a headlight here that you can turn on. When you turn it on, it does dim your front. And then you can take a look at here. This is the headlight. Of course, this is during the day, so this headlight here is not necessarily going to be for you to see everything out there or light up the whole front. It is a decent size headlight, but nonetheless, it is more for you to be seen. The hydraulic brakes here that we have are 180 millimeter rotors, and they are the Logan brand. And I've used these before, and they're actually really pretty decent. So here's a closer look at those Logan brakes and the 180 millimeter rotors in the back. And I've never had any problems with the Logan brands. I actually think that they actually are quite adequate. You also have a kickstand here that is clear of pedal strike. So you can see that if you bring your pedal back, you don't have to worry about your kickstand getting in the way. And that works. It's a really great design. The other thing that you do have here is also a battery charge port. So if you want to charge your battery while it's in the bike, you can definitely do so. For me, I always take the battery out and take it up to get charged in the house, so I can make sure I don't forget to unplug it and monitor it, because it's close to where I can see it. This does have a UL rated battery, so you don't have to worry about safety. They've tested it to make sure that it does follow all the safety standards. It's a UL 2849 rating on the battery. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the power of the bike that we have in this. One, as I mentioned earlier, it does have a ability to go up to 28 miles an hour on throttle only. So keep in mind that there is a cadence sensor that's built in here. There is a magnet that's in here, and no matter what speed that you're actually pedaling at, it does sense it, and then it actually puts more power to the motor. The thing about this is that this, I think, probably has only about 6 magnets. It sometimes actually does almost 2 full rotations before the motor does kick in. And in some ways, that's really good, because I like the real bike feel. In other ways, if you want to actually have immediate power, I would say that the throttle is a really good substitute for right off the line starting. And that's one thing, me personally, I really like this style of programming on a bike, where I'm at a dead stop. This is a heavy bike. My pedals may not be necessarily in the right position for me to get as fast a start. So by hitting the throttle, it'll automatically start to take off for you and get you started. Then you can put your feet on the pedal, and then you can start pedaling it. Then what that does is then helps you keep the pedaling moving forward. And if you ever just want more power, while you're pedaling and you just want to get up to the higher speeds faster, then you just go ahead and hit the throttle and it actually does it for you. So I personally really just like the tuning on this bike. It is a lot of fun. Some people might say that they don't like the delay being so long. The only thing is when you have this much power in a motor that kicks into the pedaling really quick, I've actually seen it be a little dangerous, especially if the torque is really high. This has a lot of torque, but it does take like a rotation or two so that you don't have this surprise where it actually does start to gradually pick up once you start having your pedaling going. So it's a little hard to explain, but nonetheless, for those of you who are looking for an affordable fat tire e-bike, this CYCROWN does definitely do everything that you're going to be needing to. Have a lot of fun taking it all over the place, and it's really just a powerful bike as well. You'll see some of the speeds that we're able to get up to is really nice. So real quickly, I'm going to go over some of the cockpit functions that we have here. You have your controller here. You just hold down your power button. This turns on your display. It just takes a couple of seconds. I'll try to stay at this angle as much as possible, but for the most part, you have also your horn here, and then you have your power, your throttle, and then your up and down, of course, for your, if you watch right here, your PAS levels, you go up to 5 levels here. And then, of course, you do also have your mileage. You have an I button here. By pressing the I button, it'll rotate through these different functions and features here. Let's see if we can get that clear. So we have 16.1 miles as our trip. And then we're going to go ahead and see our odometer, our max speed, and our average. Now, since I turned off the bike, it actually resets everything normally at that. So also to go into the settings, there's only really 4 settings here. You hold down the plus and the minus, and then you go into a settings mode. And this POS, now there's different modes. There's a mode for, this actually is your miles and kilometer per hour reading, so you can go between metric and regular standard systems. By hitting the plus button while you're flashing here, it goes to number 2, which is, you also have cruise control. According to this, you can actually do a cruise control adjustment, and I don't know how that's working because I don't seem to be able to change this to a 1, so I'm not sure if that actually cruise control has been taken off. But that's one of the things in the manual. By the way, I will flash up the manual instructions on, it says what you can do here. Then we'll go to the next function here, PS3. This is your backlight. You have 3 levels of backlight. Right now, it's actually on number 3, which is the brightest. And of course, through the camera with the shadows and shades, I'm not sure how you can see. I also have a polarized lens on this camera. That might actually be affecting it, but for the most part, just know that you can actually adjust it to keep it dimmer if you don't want it to be that bright. Of course, when you turn on your headlight, it automatically does dim it, so you do have that where it's not so bright on a dark night where this is taking up a lot of your view because it's over bright, which is a really nice feature to have, like how cars have that same dash feature. And then, of course, you just hit your power button, it takes you back, or you just wait it out and it'll take you out. And you have your battery levels all the way at the top here. Super simple, your miles per hour, your speedometer. I'm going to lean the bike a little bit. You can see that very simple, and that pretty much goes ahead and takes care of all of it. You do also have your auto cutoffs on your brakes on your left and your right. So if you are happening to hit the brakes, it cuts off the motor. It's a safety feature so that you're not fighting against the motor if you need to stop for any reason. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is the removal of the battery. It's really easy to do. There is a lock and unlock that says here, and then underneath here, there's also another switch or kind of a lever to unlock the battery. You basically stick your key in. You're going to just turn it in counterclockwise to go ahead and unlock it. And then from here, you can unlock the latch on the bottom, and this will allow you to pull out the battery. And you got to make sure the tire's in the right position. And this comes out here. And as you can see, this is the battery that we have here. It is a 48 volt, 15.6 amp hours. And standard lithium ion battery works out really well. Then when you want to put the battery back in, you do need to have the key in the unlock position. And then make sure that you have it in the right place. Oh, by the way, this battery also does have a indicator light here on how much charge based on the coloring by hitting this. And the color chart will tell you there's 3 levels. It's just a basic way to know if the battery is completely dead or if it has a full charge or medium. So we stick this in here, put the bottom in first. And then what we're going to do is make sure it's seated. It'll go in here, lock itself in, and then you turn the key, make sure it's tight, and the key will come out. And the only way the key will come out is if it is already pre-locked in the right position at this point. And that's pretty much it. So other than that, that's the only thing you really have to take apart. Other than the seat, your adjustment can be done here. This bike is rated for people, according to the manual, between 5'3" and 6'3" in height. But I need to say that it is a big bike. I'm at 5'5", and there's about 2 or 3 inches left here. Except if you're going to be 5'3", just be aware that it's going to be a big bike to handle. Not that saying that you can't do it, but up to 6'3", that'll be really good as well. Being that also my hands or my arms are shorter, I am leaning in a more aggressive position. I rode yesterday, no issues. It's just that I just know that I like more of an upright position. But if you are the adventurous type, that's what this bike is really for, because the aggressive stance is going to give you a little more stability and balance for that, and just a lot more maneuverability with the steering when you're leaning a little more forward. And that's why they make it that way. So it's a great bike. Thank you, CYCROWN, for sending the CycVerve model to me again for review. I really appreciate it. This is an awesome bike. And for those that are looking for it, the pricing that they have it at, for the power that you have in this and all the specs that you get, it is pretty amazing. So I highly recommend taking a look at this if you're looking for a fat tire bike that's affordable and on the market. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and thank you so much for your support.